Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the ISS Brief podcast. In this episode, we're speaking with Carol Howson. She's the Sustainability and Product Manager at Ulster Carpets, a fourth-generation manufacturing business with a long-standing heritage and a growing focus on sustainability. With operations dating back to 1938, Ulster Carpets offers a unique perspective on what it means to embed sustainability within a complex, end-to-end manufacturing environment, balancing legacy, innovation, and evolving regulatory and commercial pressures. In this conversation, we explore what sustainability looks like in practice, from reducing emissions and managing materials to navigating industry challenges and building capability across the organization. We hope you enjoy, and as always, make sure you subscribe for more upcoming podcasts.
Carol, thanks a million for joining us today. It's great to have you on the podcast, learn a bit more about Ulster Carpets. But look, we'll kind of jump straight into it. For those of you who are listening in, Ulster Carpets have been really around since 1938. They're a fourth generational family business, and they're still operating within that same site in Portadown. So it's a very family run business. But I suppose it'd be great if you could tell us a bit more about Ulster Carpets, what the business does, the kind of customers you guys serve and work with, and how that company has been structured and grown over the years, and really, I suppose, where your sustainability program sits. Like, what does it look like? You obviously been leading this for a number of years, so it'd be great to kind of get the insight directly from yourself.
Yeah, sure. So, as you said, Ulster Carpets is based in Portadown, that's in County Armagh. We make carpet, clues in the name there. We do primarily bespoke design work for Axminster woven carpets, and we serve the hospitality and marine markets in the UK, Europe, and the USA. We do produce carpet for residential customers as well, and that's really what we started out doing. But over the years, it's become a much smaller market sector for us, and we mainly operate in the commercial space. Ulster Carpets is actually a group of companies. So we own several other businesses that make or sell carpets themselves. But we also own a yarn spinning mill, which provides us with all the yarn that we use in our carpets. And we also own a company that provides us with our looms, which is quite nice. Because we operate mainly in the commercial sector, our sustainability program is built around customer requirements, the ever evolving legal requirements that are placed on us all the time and continually developing. But we also are sticking to the core values of our company that go back almost 90 years now, which is around sort of the use of natural materials. We are very strong on local manufacturing as well. The company was set up in Portadown, and that's where our headquarters still exists, on the same site. And our business has always been committed to supporting the local community, which we're still very heavily involved in. But yeah, we've done a lot of work in recent years to cut our carbon emissions and cut back on waste and all the obvious things that people might do. But for us, the crux of our sustainability is to make products that are high quality and built to last.
Yeah, and I think that was one thing we've had a conversation about this obviously prior, and what stood out is, like, particularly as it's a family business and the heritage and the strong heritage that the business had, like, I suppose the quality has always sat at the forefront of what you do, and sustainability sits alongside that, and that has really, I suppose, shaped how you guys are approaching the sustainability program and how it fits within the overall strategy. But I also think, as you said, it's the regulatory side, but also customers and what they're demanding and how that is now adapting to how, I suppose, how
very
you
much
deliver. And like, as you said there, and you alluded to, like, you've done a lot of work, particularly on the carbon side. So you've achieved close to 50% reduction against your 2019 baseline. Waste diversion is a big piece, with 100% waste diverted from landfill. So you're not sending material to landfill, and then similarly switching to renewable electricity. So you've taken great strides. And like, I suppose a lot of companies listening to this may be struggling with that first step or idea of how to begin. Like, how, I suppose, if you could speak us through how that, I suppose, what did that involve in terms of practice, like those key actions, what were the moves that made the biggest difference, and I suppose, where did that commitment originate, and how that has kind of grown legs or snowballed?
Sure. Well, I must admit, when we first started our sustainability efforts, I wasn't actually at the company, so I can't take any credit for what was done in the early days. But when I came into the company, there was already really good foundations. So the business had set their targets for 2025. They were quite ambitious targets, like a 50% reduction in carbon emissions is ambitious. And waste reduction, energy intensity, all these things, we were working on reductions anyway. So we did achieve a 48.5% reduction in scope 1 and 2 emissions against a target of 50. So we weren't far away. And for us, this was largely due to a move to green electricity. So we entered into a renewable energy contract with our energy provider, and that helped take us a long way towards that target. That's a very easy switch. It's an easy thing to do with your energy provider. It comes at an additional cost, obviously, but the business recognized the need for that, and it was the right thing to do. So they made that investment. As well as that, when it comes to carbon emissions, we implemented a number of energy saving projects. So we have a heat recovery system in our dye house. We dye all our own yarns on site. So we're a very big energy user. So we have a heat recovery system there where we extract the heat from the outgoing wastewater, and we use it to preheat the incoming cold water. We replaced all of our fluorescent lights with LED alternatives. We replaced some old inefficient oil boilers with new gas versions, which were more appropriately spec'd for the job that they were required to do. We installed direct fired heating systems around the factory areas so we could localize the heating in those spaces and make it more efficient. We upgraded compressors and put in heat recovery systems in there as well. We switched all of our materials handling equipment on site from gas powered to battery powered, which were then being recharged on green electricity, which was a double win there. We did a lot of sort of big ticket projects like this. It did require obviously a lot of investment, but we were at a point where these things needed to be done anyway. We've been on that site from 1938. Things get old and need replaced. So it was quite timely in that sense, and it all helped feed into those targets that we had for 2025. Regarding waste, we've had zero waste to landfill for a number of years, actually. So we do all the basics. We segregate all our recyclables, and we reuse a lot of materials throughout the group. And there's things we circulate like pallets, yarn bobbins, things that we're using amongst the companies anyway. We are part of International Synergies, which is the industrial symbiosis program that runs, which is really useful because we find quite a few partners who are willing to take the waste that we don't need and they'll recycle it or reuse it in their own businesses. But probably the biggest thing that has helped us is that we are able to take all of our yarn waste on site, our post-industrial waste and our carpet waste, and turn it into a felt underlay product, which has been it's like the jewel in our crown, really, from a sustainability point of view, because that has really helped reduce our waste. We're able to turn it into a complementary product that supports our core offering. And it's just an excellent outlet for our post-industrial waste and for the other companies in the group that have yarn and textile waste as well.
So, and I kind of want to pick up on that prior, because I do want to, obviously, as a carpet manufacturer, raw materials sit at the forefront as well, and obviously within a heritage business, you have not relied heavily, but have backed wool because of its natural fibers, because it's rapidly renewable, it's biodegradable material. And again, I want to loop back to, as you mentioned there, from a commercial side of things, but this has been a challenge I suppose we've spoken about previously as well, and oftentimes the conflicting nature, particularly as you're a multinational business delivering into multi-markets as well, and the policies can change there. We've talked about, I suppose, that story is harder to tell than it sounds sometimes when it comes to that renewable nature and biodegradable nature of the material, with bigger players in bigger markets kind of pushing towards that synthetic recyclability narratives around synthetic material, raw materials. And that's a challenge I know you've faced at the forefront of what the business is trying to do, particularly kind of driven by the customers or by regulators. Like how do you navigate that from a journey perspective and I suppose from a comms perspective, and I suppose I could delve a bit more into that side of things.
It can be tricky. In some cases, we have been using wool in our carpets since day one,
Hmm.
and there's many reasons for that, and mostly because wool has a lot of properties it lends itself for use in carpets. Like it's anti-static, it's stain repellent, it's quite wear resistant. There's a lot of things that make wool the perfect product for carpets. But over the years, synthetic materials have become a lot more popular, particularly in carpets. And I think just with the rise in sort of the awareness of plastics pollutions and plastic in oceans and landfill and everything, these synthetic carpet producers are having to kind of mitigate that and talk about why synthetics are better and that they're recyclable and all these things. So, whilst all that is true to a point, it's like anything. It's not as straightforward as it
Yeah.
appears. So for us, what we're trying to do is really help educate our customers about the reality. Because whilst a lot of components of synthetic carpets are recyclable, it's not actually being done because it's very difficult to do. So it's just about making sure that people are aware of the reality. I think globally, less than 5% of carpets are recycled, and there's quite a lot of carpet material being sold out there. So, sort of presenting the facts, the reality, kind of takes the, dare I say, greenwashing. It kind of sort of takes away from the greenwashing that's happening across the industry. So we have customers who are very keen on natural products and appreciate the value in them. So we will, we like that. That's what we want to see, and we want to get more of that across our customer base. So it's really an education piece. We do work with customers. I meet with customers and I talk to them, and they understand where we're going. There's a lot of other issues as well with how carpet has been installed. So even if I produce the most sustainable carpet in the world, a lot of installers will glue it to a synthetic underlay, and it means that any recyclability or biodegradability qualities that it has are negated immediately by the underlay. So there's a lot to be done across the industry, working on sort of how we get around these issues and make carpets truly more sustainable. But for us, we firmly believe that the more natural materials that we can use, the better, because the more natural carpet, the more sustainable it is. And combined with our emphasis on quality and durability and longevity, we think they're the key credentials for a sustainable product.
Yeah, and I think that's like, I suppose, as you said, the big piece here is education, and it's kind of tends to
Oh
be the
yeah.
missing link. And like you sit at I suppose, the pinnacle there of being educators in relation to not only the value you guys are delivering from the use of this material, but the power of that material and the breakdown.
Mhm.
Because I think that's the key thing is like people see recyclability and automatically think that's the right solution. But as you said, at the end of life perspective, the infrastructure is in place to actually recycle these multi-thread or multi-material products, because they aren't going to be break down and it just ends up in landfill. So I think like that communication piece is massive, and I think we see it on our end. People can, and I suppose, as you said, it leads to greenwashing because people can assume something is naturally more like sustainable as a result of these words that have kind of been used, and a narrative that can be spun. So don't mind my pun, but
Yeah, exactly.
because like I think that's one thing I wanted to bring back, because like I suppose particularly the work you guys have done and the example you showcased there from you know the 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 second material you're using from your waste products to generate that underlay, and how that's naturally fitting into your manufacturing process, and it's like your jewel in your crown in terms of that communication piece and the commercial value that's delivered, not only from a cost saving but a waste material saving. um like you sit at that pinnacle of communication, and like beyond just doing the right thing in terms of what sits within the family business and the values that you guys have, but do you find that communication is working, like, and the work you're doing is working from a commercial perspective? Is it actually opening doors commercially for Ulster Carpets? Like, are you winning business because of it, or is it still more of a, because of what you outlined, is it still more of a hygiene factor for businesses, or they're pushing you more the other way? Like, how are you finding from a commercial perspective?
It's a bit of both, to be honest. There are customers who really like our product because it is natural and it's wool, and it's kind of like saying it's a high-end product. It's also, you know, a bit more expensive than some of what our competitors would have in the market. So we have people who, that's the appeal, that it's a high-end premium product anyway, and that it's wool, and it's, you know, it's a wee bit nicer than saying your carpet's made of plastic. You know, it's made of wool. So we'll always have people who like that aspect. And our customers do appreciate what we're doing. I do get to talk to quite a few of them, which is quite nice in my role, that we, you know, we bring customers to the factory and they can see how their product is made, and we have a chance then to talk to them. But yeah, we work with a lot of high-end brands, and they're a lot more aware, particularly the royal households. We have the royal warrant, and they have very high expectations when it comes to ESG. So we are doing a lot of work there, and it is paying off. However, for a lot of customers, cost is still a deciding factor, and quite often the more sustainable option isn't the cheapest option. So if we're working on a project, there's generally quite a lot of stakeholders involved. So if it's a hotel, we might have the hotel chain or a private owner. We'll have an interior designer, a purchasing agent or a specifier. We'll have a contractor, construction contractor, an installer. There's so many people involved, and everyone has their own requirements, and not all of those people have sustainability at the top of their agenda. So it's trying to balance meeting everyone's needs, and within that group of people, you know, some people have a little more sway than others. But what we're seeing is that the hospitality industry in general is taking sustainability a lot more seriously. You'll see that yourself if you go to stay in a hotel, you know, how things have changed over the years. So they are raising their standards, and they are looking for more sustainable manufacturers. So yes, what we're doing is working, and it is paying off. But you know, cost, most things come down to cost at the end of the day. As a business though, we're continuing to stick to our core values anyway. You know, we believe in the natural materials and the quality and all of that. And we think that we are delivering a sustainable product by default. It's just, it comes back to the education piece of, you know, why our product is, we believe, better than some of the alternatives that are out there.
And I suppose that cost side, because like with the underlay, like have you seen internal from a business perspective that delivering cost savings, you know, from a manufacturing piece, less so the customers, is that, you know, the work you've done from waste diversion, from developing out that secondary underlay product, is that kind of reduced?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, we're really seeing a lot of improvement there, because, you know, the less waste you're making, the better. You know, the waste we do produce that we can then turn into something else is obviously another income stream there for us. But there's a lot of options for product development in that underlay product as well. So it's opening new markets for us, and, you know, a bit of growth there. But yeah, we are seeing that you know, there's a huge investment to a lot of sustainability initiatives, but they do pay back in the long run.
So one thing you mentioned at the start is that obviously Ulster Carpets kind of sits within a group of companies and acquisitions in terms of developing out the group as it stands. So you're managing, I suppose, sustainability across a complex group of these businesses. You know, you're doing that full end to end, from manufacturing process, from wool sourcing through to kind of distribution. How is that complexity now beginning to, I suppose, change how you approach the sustainability program? And yeah, I suppose what's the forward looking challenge there, you know?
Yeah, well, we're fully integrated, so we have a lot of control over our processes. And as I mentioned earlier, we do own two of our biggest suppliers, which is quite helpful. So the yarn mill in Yorkshire produces our yarn for us, and we have an engineering company in Sunderland, and that brings us a lot of benefits actually, because it means our supply chains are short, first of all, and we have full visibility of what's going on there. So, you know, when it comes to sourcing our wools, we know exactly where they come from because one of our team is out there buying them. When it comes to things like net zero, we have direct influence over our suppliers who are key players in our supply chain. And then, you know, we have a lot of influence over bringing their emissions down and things like that. So from that point of view, it's a win-win. So we can sort of rely on each other. So we can circulate things around the group, and we can, materials, waste materials, all feed into our underlay product. So we're helping each other in that kind of symbiotic relationship, and we can sell complementary products as well. So we do support each other a lot in that way.
Brilliant. And I think, yeah, that's, I suppose, it's the power of holding the end-to-end piece and growing as a collective as well is huge. Now we spoke on the I suppose a conflict between the core values and also from a legislative perspective and customers in terms of what they're pushing towards and how you're as a business is educating the customer. And I think we also spoke, I think, on that end of life piece, being one of those main unresolved problems when it comes to not only the carpet industry, but let's say the textile industry and wider industries in terms of the infrastructure not being there to manage a lot of these products when it comes to end of life, or using it properly into like a circular perspective, which you guys are kind of taking a hold of, when it comes to these waste materials and bringing it back in as a secondary product and product innovation. Um, I suppose that communication, education piece, from a building the sustainability program and embedding it across that business, across Ulster Carpets. How do you think about building sustainability capability across the rest of the organization? From factory floor to the board. What actions are you taking to pull that strategy into everyday actions of the workforce? Because I think that's one thing we do here often is a strategy we can put out, but it's difficult to get everybody's buy-in. And how does it take, I suppose, to bring particularly not only the business, but at a group level, along on this journey? And what are the kind of challenges there? Now, I know that's a big question, there's a lot there, but it's great
There's a lot there.
yeah.
So I've been really lucky in that I came to the business whenever there was already a very clear understanding that sustainability was really important. Because we were hearing more noise from customers about it, and they were getting a wee bit more vocal, I suppose, and asking us questions about what we were doing. So there is a lot of buy-in from the company at a senior level. That's just a given, which is brilliant. Primarily because I work at the company headquarters, that's where a lot of our sustainability efforts are focused at the moment, because we're the biggest company in the group. So it's really been, initially it's kind of a top-down approach because we started with those big ticket projects and things that require big investment. And from now on, I think my focus or what I want to do is drill down further towards the shop floor level and start building from the bottom up. So like with customers within the workforce, it comes down to education and awareness and letting people understand what our mission is, why we're doing this, why we're investing in these technologies, why we're making product developments and things like that, and getting them on board. And I think that'll really help with making further progress and how far we've come already, because, for example, 48% reduction in carbon emissions is huge. There's not much left, it's marginal gains after that. So I think certainly my goal over the next few years will be to have, an education piece rolled out to all of our employees so that they can understand the role they're playing and involve them, because quite often the people on the floor are the people who know the best way or have better ideas or continuous improvement projects in mind. So I think getting everyone involved is absolutely imperative. And working with the group, like I say, because we have our yarn supplier, for example, we can really help influence what they're doing so that they can become a more sustainable organization. And a lot of it is it's common sense in a lot of ways. You want to save energy, you want to cut your costs and all of that, but because we can actually work with them and influence them, and we can fund, we can make investments in those companies as well to bring them on board with us. So there's a lot to be done there. So there's in our manufacturing company headquarters there's most opportunities, but we certainly will roll it out to other parts of the group as time goes on.
Yeah, and I think that piece around top down, bottom up as well is key, because it is vital to have that top down ownership and drive and vision, like as you said, from the overall values the business holds. That's been at the forefront of what they want to deliver. But particularly because you sit in such a complex space in relation to product, and product of innovation is something so important for the materials you use and the waste that you produce. That bottom up education, not only to embed the strategy so everyone understands the direction you're going, but also I think to enable you to develop those innovations. Because I think what we find as well with others is it's really those people who are on that factory floor, shop floor, who know their job better than anyone. And I think giving them and empowering them with the knowledge can almost like flick a switch in terms of thinking differently from a sustainability standpoint, and kind of drive ideas as well, which is very powerful from that top down, bottom up side of things, you know. So then, Carol, from your own learning and development, like what has made that biggest practical difference to how you do your job? Like, you know, obviously learning on the day to day and then external as well. It'd be just kind of good to get your perspective as well for those people listening in.
Yeah, so when I started this job, I had no previous practical experience in the things that I'm doing now. What I lacked in experience, I did make up for in enthusiasm, I'll say that. So my role in the company is sustainability and product development. They go quite well together, of course, but I had product development experience from a previous job that was in the same industry, and that company had a particularly strong sustainability ethos and a very mature system in place. So that gave me a really good foundation and understanding of sustainability issues and sort of how to tackle them. But when it came to things like carbon accounting or strategy planning or all of that stuff was all completely new to me. So what was good was the business had already put some foundations in place in terms of what, you know, the 2025 targets that we had, and the priority areas had kind of been identified. So when I came in, I was lucky enough to be able to learn from the people who had already been there and had sort of made their way in the early stages of this anyway. But I mean, you do have to learn a lot. You learn as you go, and there's a lot of help available out there. So I was very grateful when I came across the Institute of Sustainability Studies, because, as you know, I've enrolled on the diploma course, which has been really beneficial at sort of breaking everything down into manageable chunks and creating a structure and a journey through it, a roadmap, which has been excellent because that was the side of sustainability I hadn't really had any exposure to. I think for a lot of people, maybe this is still a relatively new career path for them. I mean, this is the first dedicated sustainability role that Ulster Carpets has had. Some companies probably don't have any dedicated resource in the business. So I think a lot of us are learning. It's been really beneficial to go to different events and things like that. There's always local events running by different organizations, Chamber of Commerce and that kind of thing. So there's a lot more going on in the sustainability space and a lot more resource available that you can tap into. But yeah, you learn as you go, and you learn from the people in the business, because although people don't realize it, there's a lot of sustainability activities that are already happening. If that's continuous improvement stuff, if that's energy management and facilities and waste management, environmental, a lot of these things are happening anyway. And it's just sort of being there to kind of pull it all together and package it up into what it really is, which is the whole sustainability strategy for the business, and sort of creating some cohesion to it all. So yeah, you learn as you go. Nobody has all the answers.
Yeah, and I think like it's funny, like your story, I suppose, is as tale as all this time, and it's something we always hear as well. Is like, as you said, you may not have a sustainability background, but all of a sudden you're kind of moving into the role and jumped into it, and you do learn as you go. And
yeah.
And the number of similar clients we would work with from that perspective, and as you said, generally businesses are doing a lot of good things. You know, it's just broken up, and it needs kind of someone there to help guide it and bring it together and pull it under one umbrella to kind of support the further growth and action forward. And I suppose and again, kind of coming to close, but from the group as a whole now, you know, it's obviously growing, and we're doing a lot of work with the subsidiaries. There's new markets there. You know, top-down leadership, as you said, is driving this. What does that, I suppose, mean for where this program is going to go, sustainability program is going to go next, and what does, I suppose, Ulster Carpets look like, let's say in 5 years' time? What does that vision from the strategic perspective, Carol, look like in 5 years' time, you know?
Yeah, we have a COO who's come in recently, and he's been tasked with a lot of things, but he's certainly working very hard on sort of pulling the group together. Until now, we don't connect probably as much as we should, and we don't lean on each other as much as we should. So we're going to be a bit more harmonized, I think, as a group of companies, which will benefit everyone. So that's one thing. For Ulster Carpets and our brand, we are definitely looking forward to sort of a new era of Ulster Carpets, because we're working on a new sort of 5-year plan for our sustainability strategy, and to build on the achievements we've already got under our belt. So we'll be looking at still focusing on energy and carbon and those kinds of things. We'll be looking more at our products, because that's quite we're having to comply with lots of different pieces of legislation, particularly in EU. There's a lot happening there over the next few years. So we'll be looking into that and how we can kind of adapt to those requirements. We'll also be trying sort of putting a little more emphasis on our meeting our customers' needs and providing a better service for them in terms of our sort of design and just the general overall package that we can deliver to them. I think for me personally as well, I'd like to, as I was talking about earlier on, sort of embed sustainability in the company from top down to bottom up. I'd like everyone to be aware of what our mission is and why and how we're going to get there. And to sort of go a little bit more into the governance side of things as well, because we are known as being a very trustworthy supplier. We have integrity, we have quality, and we want to kind of maintain that and drive it on as well, and we don't want to lose that. So there's a lot going on in lots of different spaces. The practical side of things, I'll be very busy, but also looking at sort of the commercial side of the business and how we can sort of promote what we're doing, because we find that we've done a lot of really good things over the years, but we're not really talking about it. We're not shouting about it. We are very much in the background. So it's trying to sort of just get that out there and show people that we are working hard on this. And there's a lot of positives about our product and about the service that we have, and just trying to grow the business and using that sort of sustainability as a benchmark to get us out there with the much bigger organizations that we're competing with.
Yeah, so strategically, as you said, is using it as a lever to really drive the business from growth. And
Yeah.
I think, as you said, from the embedding perspective is kind of just becomes how the business operates in terms of from a sustainable business and value perspective. And then finally, Carol, from anyone listening who's responsible, let's say similar to yourself in a business like Ulster Carpets, maybe just getting started, maybe feeling overwhelmed, as you said, by the ream of compliance requirements coming down the track. What's the one piece of advice you'd give them in that situation?
Don't be scared. Just start. Just starting something is better than doing nothing. And I think for me, what helped me the most is there's so much knowledge and experience and good work already happening in our organization, and it's extracting that and, as you said, just pulling it all together under the one umbrella, because there's a whole parts of sustainability that people aren't really exposed to and not doing day to day, and that's where you have to tap into. But most of the work and the expertise is already being done, and once you've figured that out, that's half the battle, is getting sort of acknowledging what's already going well in the company and just tying it all together. And then you can add on the nice things like the sustainability accreditations, maybe certifications that you can go for, how to report your information properly so that you're getting the message across about what's being done in the business already. But yeah, get some training. Like I said before, the diplomas helped me a lot. Just make sense of even terminology, because there's so much out there. It can be a bit baffling at times. But learn as you go. What is it? Eat the elephant one bite at a time. Because it's such a vast topic, that you just have to chip away at it, and you'll get there.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think, as you said, it is that terminology of one bite at a time, how to eat an elephant, because it is a case of, I think sometimes the scale of it can be frightening and just stalls halts growth, but or even action. But yeah, look, Carol, that's been fantastic, and your insight has been really, really wonderful, particularly in an industry that is quite challenging from a end of life and from a customer demand and different regions, and just interested to see how Ulster Carpets is approaching the whole piece. So thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And that brings us to an end of this episode. A big thank you to Carol for sharing such honest and practical insights into what it takes to implement sustainability within a complex manufacturing business. If you found this episode useful, you can explore more practical insights, case studies, and resources from the Institute of Sustainability Studies. Thank you again for listening, and we'll see you soon in the next episode.